Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one lined up for you this morning. Here's just some of the headlines. SEC's inconsistent approach. I think you're aware of it, but we're going to talk about it. Bitcoin crypto could trigger the largest redistribution of wealth. Well, I like hearing that because you and me are already here. Bitcoin mining in Texas. Things are changing. We'll talk about how. Tether's back in the news, and for some reason, it's never good. What is up with that? What about Binance? What about the exchanges? More importantly, what about Gary Gensler and how he feels about the exchanges? We're going to hear from him. More and more evidence for us as speculators in this market. That's right. If you're hearing this, you are in fact a speculator in this market. Mo money, and that's what we all want to know about, and there's more coming into the space. FinCEN expands to accommodate for crypto, and we're going to take a look at the XRP charts and see what is going on. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackUpBradleyAbove, and everything that we're talking about here today. $1.476 trillion for the cryptocurrency market cap collectively. That number has come up around 50 billion or so. More money's creeping back into the space and a little more green on the charts today. We get carried away too much for XRP, however, but we are sitting at 67 cents right now. 0.6704 is where we are this morning. Number 6 spot, courtesy of the dereliction of duty and intimidation tactics by the SEC. We will see how that shakes out. We're looking at possibly seeing a end of year, early next year resolution to the case, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the whole fight is over for XRP and the crypto space broadly. We'll get into that, and maybe if not this video, certainly by the next video today. So make sure you check out both of them. All right, let's go ahead and look at the range right now. We are going to look, before we get out of here today, at Dark Defender and some things that he shared over the last couple days, and I think they're important to look at here. We see the bottom of the range is at 65 cents, 0.6550. The top of the range, 0.6771. We are almost at 67 cents. We were just moments ago. Now, we know that this is a critical resistance point, and XRP has been hovering here for the last few days. And obviously, normally what you see on the chart is the longer you touch resistance and you're hanging out there, normally speaking, you end up rolling over and going lower to the lower support line. That's what we've been seeing over the last several weeks now, but none of the higher price predictions are off of the table, and that is still exciting, and we need to keep our head on a swivel to see what happens, because if it's flirting around that resistance line, if it can get up above 70, what did they say, 70 to 80 cent range, we could be staring down at $1 XRP very, very soon. Let's start with this, because I tell you, this has always been fascinating to me. I've always made the joke here, and shout out to Jed McCaleb, who I think is a brilliant mind in this space. But it does baffle me as digital asset investor, and shout out to him, that says here, the SEC not wanting to speak with this guy in the Ripple case is almost as crazy as them not shutting down the root of all ICOs in 2017, Ethereum. And I just think it's a great point. I'm not going to play the clip for you because I don't think it's necessary. But, I do believe that there is an epic story to cover for anyone looking for it here. And, it goes beyond just Jed McCaleb and the Mt. Gox days, and then at Ripple, and now Ripple's being sued, but they don't want to talk to him, or Arthur Brito, for which you don't really even have a picture for. Right. So, you sprinkle in Arthur Brito, Jed McCaleb, always having the perfect timing when it comes to leaving a situation, and hell, for that matter, add in Satoshi, right? Nobody knows who that is or who they are, right? And I think we all can make guesses on those things. But nevertheless, I just find it very interesting, the early days of the creation of this entire market, let alone certain actual projects. But I digress. We move on, and we will keep an eye on it. Here's another interesting fun fact here. We know Flare is supposedly imminent to launch, and I'm excited for it. Now, I've had major questions about the tax implications in the airdrop distribution, but that's a separate issue for me as an investor. It always has been, right? Now, looking at the network and seeing what they've built, I'm extremely excited about that as an investor too, right? And the fact that it's a utility fork of XRP. And what they've built so far looks very, very promising going forward for the market. And I'm extremely excited to see this launch so we can find out the impact of how this is going to go forward, right? And I'm wondering, like, I was hoping that July 4th would be a great day to do it on Independence Day. That would have been a great day to launch Flare, but it didn't happen. But someone suggested in one of the comments that Martha Costins, the creator of the Flare, herself, which Flare was named after, died on July 9th. So maybe the celebration of her life may be the launch of that. I certainly hope it's not her birthday, because then we'd wait till December. And I don't want to wait till December. And I know you don't either. But it's just a thought, floated it out there. But hopefully we get it very soon. That would be in a couple of days if they were to do that. That could be a classy move to celebrate her life if they did launch it on the 9th. But nevertheless, whenever they launch it, I am excited to see how that grows and how quickly that takes off. All right, looking right here, we're moving to this: Bitcoin and crypto assets to trigger the largest redistribution of wealth in history. Now, listen, I love Raoul Pal, and I think he's a brilliant mind, and I think he's dead on the money here. And I think, look, this is not breaking news exactly to all of us who are speculators and investors in this market. And we've all taken our own personal positions in things, whether it's really deep in one or shallow in another. We've gotten very deep on one thing, or we've gone wide on many things. I look at it as putting a lot of fishing nets in many different rivers if I'm into different projects. And that broadens my opportunity to win on at least one or a couple of them, right? Again, if you're hearing my voice, you are a speculator, and never make anybody, I don't care who they think they are, never let them bully you into believing that you're not allowed to analyze this information to whatever degree you want to. It goes on a lot out here. You wouldn't believe it. But nevertheless, I think this is right on target. This is very similar to something I've said on this channel for many years now, which is I believe we're witnessing the greatest financial paradigm shift in the history of mankind, and it can't be overstated. Now, none of this is financial advice, but that's my personal perspectives, and that's why I'm here. And looking at that, I see that new Bitcoin mining center in Texas as the electricity buyer of last resort. Bitcoin mining enables energy independence, bringing more security to Texan jobs, the Texan economy, and the Texan grid. And what I see here is a real difference in moving and shifting. We know that China has been very, very brutal on shutting down mining in China, and we're seeing it pop up in the United States. We know just a couple of weeks ago, I reported on over 6,000 pounds of, was it 6,000 pounds or tons? I can't remember. But an enormous amount of Bitcoin mining equipment was sent to Maryland from China operation that was shut down. I believe in Kevin O'Leary to that point, talking about not accepting blood coin and getting operations built here in the United States so you can actually track where the coin came from. And I believe they even put together a council to organize that kind of understanding for mined Bitcoin. So then there's this. Now, I want you to think about the macro of this: governments, market regulators, prudential regulators, right? For instance, market regulator, SEC, prudential regulator, Treasury, right? There's levels there. So, looking at this, why Tether, the world's third biggest cryptocurrency, has got economists worried. Fitch Rating warned of a sudden mass redemption of Tether tokens could destabilize short-term credit markets. We just talked about the insurance that Tether was backing in case there was a depegging. Now, why does this keep happening? I believe that this keeps happening, one, because we know that I believe it was New York had a lawsuit against Tether. They settled, they rectified that. But that doesn't mean the government itself, the U.S. federal government, is done with it yet. And something about this narrative is screaming out to me that a change is going to come. Just like I see Bitcoin mines being shut down in China and they're popping up here in the US, and either they're trying to go somewhere where there's low energy costs like Texas, or they're trying to, develop Bitcoin mining renewable, sustainable energy sources. There is a change taking place here. And I have to wonder if Tether's going to get caught in the crosshairs, and there's a change with the onset of CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, being launched by governments. This adds to the narrative that we're talking about today. Binance, as we talked and discussed, has disabled SEPA transfers, a common payment method that European customers use to deposit funds. The decision is likely the result of a recent FCA action. That is the Financial Conduct Authority out of the UK, the equivalent of the SEC here, right? That prohibits the exchange from operating in the UK. Now, I'm going to play this for you. Now, this is the UK. I'm just trying to provide some perspective because I believe there is a global international agenda to clean up the space together. That's why I believe you see China shutting down mines. You see more sustainable, low energy cost mines jumping up in the U.S. and a narrative of a stable coin that possibly is not properly backed like Tether could be put down or depegged based on what governments want to do with that and launching their own digital dollars. And then there's Binance having banks shut off the ability to fund their accounts based on the fact that Binance is not set up properly is the narrative. Coming back to the United States, Gary Gensler has said this. Let's listen.
I think that we need greater investor protection there. And we don't have a federal regime overseeing the crypto exchanges. So if investor wants to trade on that Bitcoin, understanding it's highly volatile, highly speculative, but if they want to trade on that we have in place some investor protection. And that's what I was saying, I think, is a gap in our system right now.
And what he's talking about is the lack of oversight over the cryptocurrency exchanges, which I believe directly ties into Binance and what's taking place in the forward movement of the FCA in the UK. Obviously, separate regulatory agency, separate country, but similar action that aligns with the US regulator, Gary Gensler, here in the United States. FCA has been cited by Ripple and other companies and projects here that they are very forward thinking and doing great things, and they are someone to learn and take from because they have been very forward thinking in moving about implementing the proper regulation and framework for crypto in that space, in that region. So this gets more interesting because I believe this larger narrative is not only about consumer protection, but isn't it so that the Barclays, the HSBCs, right, the JP Morgans, the Goldman Sachs of the world, isn't it true that all of these entities would rather have you getting crypto from them or through a dealer broker network framework that already exists out here in the world where the regulation and all of these things are already in there? And isn't it true that these large investment banks and have been sitting back for more than a decade and they have been watching up to $2.5 trillion, but now this morning $1.476 trillion exit this space? That is transaction dollars that they're not getting, ladies and gentlemen. And do you think that it's any coincidence that Binance is now being cited and put in the crosshairs? I don't. I really don't. I think there's a much larger narrative coming here. And look, you could say to yourself, Gary Gensler's in the US, FCA's in the UK. They have nothing to do with one another. I do not believe what they are doing is mutually exclusive. I really do not believe that. I think that it is timely that the FCA in the UK is doing what they're doing again to Binance, and I think it's lining up and falls completely in line with Gary Gensler from the SEC here in the United States, because I believe there's a globally coordinated effort, because if you don't work together to solve this problem for this digital asset space, this new asset class that's being introduced to the world, not just the US, if you don't work together to provide that framework to some degree that we're all committed to, then you're going to create a safe haven out there in the world somewhere else. And it makes no sense to do it in one country and not the other, doesn't it? So looking on, I think one of the main catalysts for all of this to be done on an internationally coordinated effort, at least to some loose framework, is really important to understand, because we see the largest management companies that manage assets, London-based asset management company with over 55 billion in assets under management, considers a foray into cryptocurrency market. And what it really means is regulation coming in and starting to make those changes, cite the real problems out here, take and eliminate those problems with introducing a CBDC instead of potentially a tether that could possibly not be backed properly, right? Going after exchanges, even one of the world's biggest exchanges like Binance, if it is not operating correctly, shutting off the on and off ramp to get money to fund your account will literally be the death of 1,000 cuts, right? So why would they do that? Because more and more real money that is already regulated is looking to take a position in these assets. And you're seeing it there, and you're also seeing it here. 82% of the 100 investors and wealth managers polled expect to increase their exposure to digital assets between now and 2023, just 24 months from now. 40% of institutional crypto investors intend to buy a lot more. Are you kidding? I mean, this, all of this just leans into the understanding here that, we're looking at huge money coming into this space. And I'm just trying to show here that the big money has still yet to come. And they're all telling you, all these investment, and I could pull up 100 of them, but I'm not going to. But, Guggenheimer investment company, right? We know Goldman Sachs has already started to offer these things to their clients. We know JP Morgan's offered to their wealthiest clients, and so on and so on and so on. So it's just going to continue to expand, but it's not going to continue to grow with more and more money coming into the space with the lack of regulation that we currently don't have. That is not a solution make. And that's where we are on this day. I tell you guys right now, link to Private Investing Made Simple. Kraken's back on the board, baby. It just came up today or late yesterday afternoon. It will not last long. And make sure you check for Uphold, and you check, and hell, Link2's got stock that's going crazy right now too. So make sure you check them out. And I'm telling you, it is the best company out here for private equity. There's no question about it. Really great people. So shout out to them, and shout out to all of you that are accredited. And if you don't know if you're accredited, they have an application you can fill out on there, or a calculator, or however it goes, and you could figure out for yourself if you are or not. That's going to do it for me. Make sure before we get out of here, let's take a look at this though. Dark Defender puts this out a couple days ago on the July 5th. That tells us that XRP is being squeezed between weekly support and resistance. The RSI is just on the same important support level as March 20th. Expecting a reversal here towards $1 area. Supports are 66 and 57 cents. We always discuss that the move hasn't yet completed. And apparently we're still in that area, that zone, right? Because we're still sitting at 66.99 cents, which is where we are here. If we roll over, the support line below would be 55, 57 cents. So that's where we are on this day. Head on a swivel. This is Crypto You Never Know. I'll catch all of you on the next one.